Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the damn sofa. My name's Paul and that's the damn sofa, and that is our sassy sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, holding it down on the sofa. Okay, so today we are going to be diving back into the Idaho case. If you follow me, you know that I get busy with work and I've been gone, and so now I'm back, so I'm catching up, and I'm basically basing a lot of these videos you're going to see this week on things that a lot of y'all have reached out to ask my opinion on. So some of this might not be like breaking news at this point, but if you're looking for my opinion or my insights and my commentary on it, then stick around for this. Now, as always, thank you to everybody who makes the channel possible, Patreon's members, people who share, like, and comment in the channels to not only help the channel stay afloat, but also to keep the victims of the cases that we talk about, their stories and their lives continuing to go in the public eye. Now, also today we have a new friend of the sofa, a new sponsor who is making it possible to keep the doors open and the cushions fluffed. I am super excited about this. They're new to the sofa. I have been using this ever since they sent it to me, and I hope y'all are just as excited about it. So take a minute and check them out. Y'all, it's a new year, a new me, so out with the old bifold wallet and in with the new. Today we're going to be talking about these amazing wallets by EkSter. They literally could be the last wallet you ever buy, so let's get into it. EkSter reached out to me and sent a variety of wallets to try, so I'm going to be reviewing them over the next coming weeks, but today I want to focus on the aluminum collection. Y'all, even the box that this came in feels so nice and luxe. It has like this very heavy, thick, matte finish to it. So they did not skimp on even the packaging. Okay, I felt fancy getting home and getting this and opening up. Okay, so I wanted to start off with the aluminum collection, the space grade aluminum collection here. And this is such a sleek, slim wallet, very modern design. And I just want to show you a few of the features that come with it that I have fallen in love with. You can see it has the ultra slim design that I have loved being able to carry in my front pocket instead of always in my back pocket. You see the expendable aluminum backplate. That's where you can store more cards, cash, and that tracker that we're going to talk about in a second. That's where I ended up putting mine in there. Now, also the little back thing, it has a space for an Apple AirTag. However, I don't use Apple, so I use the extra tracker thing that they sent with it. There's 14 colors and patterns to choose from. Now, this next feature I'm about to show you with the EkSter line, I absolutely love this. It is a game changer for me. So let me show you real quick. It's the size of a credit card and it has 3 hours of solar charge that lasts 2 full months. Let's take a look at how it works. Okay, so with the tracker in here, and for me, because I don't have an Apple AirTag, I just put mine in here with this particular little thing here so you can get to the button there. Now this is the game changer for me. So let's pretend I'm trying to leave the house. I can't find my wallet. I just come to my phone with this little app, and I'm going to try and do it on the little display here for you. Ring to find. And then I found it, stop ringing. Now, here's the other thing. Well, that's real good and dandy, Paul, you might say. But what if you can't find your phone, but you have your wallet? Well, they've got that down for you, too. You just sit here and double click this. There's my phone. I love this. And look, they're offering the Sofa Squad here up to 40% off EkSter wallets this New Year sale when you use my link down below or my discount code SOFA. All right, everybody, thank you very much. And remember to check out the description down below for the link to all that stuff that I just talked about. Now, without further ado, let's review. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking about a few key things with the case, with the Idaho case, and specifically for this video, what I want to look at is essentially like his journey from the car to a couple of court appearances. A lot of y'all asked me about this and a couple of things, so I reviewed it, I went over it, and what we're going to do is we're going to put up just a few clips for this video of different aspects of that. And like I said, we're going to kind of follow the journey from the car to the first court appearance to the second court appearance. Now, you already know if you watch me, I ain't no doctor, I ain't no lawyer, I ain't no body language expert, okay? I'm just a guy with a sofa and a little dog and some opinions and some insights and commentary, that kind of stuff. So it's all that. It's just my opinion. And so just remember that, because a lot of the stuff that I saw in these clips like body language wise was very interesting to me. So let's go ahead and start off by looking at number one, just a very quick clip of the traffic incident where he got pulled over, and let's watch it real quick. And we're going to look at a few different clips from that, but I'll tell you why we're watching it after we watch it. But when you see this, just look at Bryan in the background, and it's going to be quick, but don't worry because we're going to also revisit it, a close-up of it. So let's roll.
How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good.
Okay, like I said, this is just kind of laying the foundation. He is in the car with his father. Remember, the father flew out to Washington. They're driving back to Pennsylvania. He got pulled over not once, but twice. And we'll talk about that in a second, too. So Bryan is greeting him in the background. He does that little smile thing. Now, let's watch this next clip because we're going to kind of bring all of this together here in a second.
He's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car?
Okay, so here we learn they're getting pulled over for tailgating. He was riding too close. I mean, again, this goes into the whole thing of, was this an intentional pullover? I've not been able to get any kind of confirmation if the FBI was having them or, you know, pull him over to check along the way. At first, there was a whole thing about, oh, they wanted to pull him over to see scratches on his hands. I mean, personally, I would think if they're pulling him over for any reason, it would be, especially knowing what we know now, like if they knew stuff behind the scenes, it would be to check on the safety of his father, right? But regardless, there could be that. Now, that being said, as we watch these clips, pay attention to how the father acts and the son. And when we kind of look at them back to back here in a second, I'll dive more into what I mean by that. But just look at how Bryan stares at the cop, the interactions, that type thing. So let's watch the next clip.
And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
There was a mass shooting and everything.
Where?
This was essentially prevented fatality.
Interesting.
Well, it's horrifying because he's just always the universe, you know what I mean?
Okay, so that clip, you know, they're talking about the mass shooting. You see the father, and now, again, now knowing what we know, right? I don't think the dad knew anything about this, right? I mean, I think he came out there to drive back with the son. If we learn different, then call me wrong, right? But I don't think that the dad had any knowledge of what his son did. I don't think any of that at this point. The dad seems kind of like a happy-go-lucky type dude, right? And you hear him talking like, oh, it's awful, it's at the university. And interesting that they're not talking about the Idaho thing, right? Now, of course, Bryan would probably not want to talk about that. But interesting that they know about the mass shooting thing. They're talking about that, so on and so forth. Also, when looking at the clips, notice the difference in the way Bryan's dad interacts with the police officer and the way that Bryan interacts with him. Now, we already know, okay, without a doubt, that he was probably having to clean his britches out. All right, anybody would, right? I mean, look at what he has allegedly just done in Idaho, and he's getting pulled over. Again, not once, but twice. I mean, come on, right? This is the thing about Bryan that just blows my mind, is the fact that you've just done that. Your dad is in the car, and you're going to get pulled over twice. Tailgating, I mean, it's just, I can't wrap my head around it. And it does seem weird to see somebody get pulled for tailgating. That's why when this came out, I was like, oh, please. You know, they were having them pull him over along the way the whole time. You never hear of anyone getting pulled over for that. There's at least 10 times when I'm on the road today that I'm like, I wish a cop would pull this person over for tailgating, right? Or whatever you call it when you ride too close. But one thing to notice, and before we watch the second clip here, and then we'll get more into some of the close-up stuff, is when Bryan's dad is talking to the officer, to me, the dad acts more like what a normal person would act like. The dad, like, pretend the cop is talking to me from this way, so I'm looking at y'all. Like, the dad's like this, like, hello, officer? Yeah, you know, yeah, it's really sad, and yeah, you know, we're headed over here, and da-da-da-da. He's not, like, glued to the officer, right? Whereas Bryan, now mind you, Bryan is in a little bit of a different position. He's across from the car. The dad is kind of, like, right there at the officer, but nonetheless, Bryan already, you can see that intensity, that, you know, staring at him just like this. And then if you notice too, when the dad talks, Bryan will be like, pretend the dad's right here. Bryan's like, you know, and doing that really intense thing. Now you can see the dad and Bryan have that, like, they'll shake their heads when they talk thing, like they kind of have that in common. But Bryan's is so intense. There is so much behind it, where the dad just seems more like, yeah, you know, going out to Kentucky. And mind you, the dad hasn't just wiped out a house full of innocent college students either, right? I get that, okay? But I just found this so interesting in watching these clips, the difference in that. And again, when you sit here and think about what these students saw, his victims, in those last moments, I can only imagine the intensity, the fixation that he had, because it's like he's transfixed on this officer. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe he's studying the officer to kind of be like, am I in trouble? Is the gig up? What is this going on? What's really happening here? That type thing. So let's go to the next clip now.
We're still wrapping it up, investigating. I'm not sure there's two shoes because they did shoot somebody.
Let's see.
And then you don't know about that actually. They were there, they were shooting out of the window or something.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
Oh,
all right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay, now I'm going to replay this one because this one's a good one about what I'm talking about. And again, here, Bryan, I actually didn't know about that. You know, the cop, interesting. You know, it's such a weird transaction, right? And again, help me out in the comment sections. If anyone out there has like resources verifiable of, we have learned that yes, they were having him pull him over, let me know, right? Because it just seems so weird to me, right? Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to replay that, but I'm going to like kind of zone in on Bryan's face as he's looking at the dad. And so let's just watch it again and I'll talk about it. Okay, so you see they're sitting here, they're talking, Bryan's looking, he has that very intense, fixated, I didn't know about that, he's saying. And he looks back at the officer, the furrowed brow, and you see the dad's just kind of looking, you know, side to side, got a little smile, you know, and then maybe that little bit of relief from Bryan of, oh my God, I'm not going to prison, you know, at least right now. So I find that completely interesting. And again, knowing what we know now, it's even creepier. So let's now visit that first courtroom appearance. So many of you are asking my opinion on this, and my God, I've got opinions. So let's just watch a couple of clips from it, and then we're going to kind of dissect it a little bit.
Oh, we got it. We took care of it. You get it.
Okay. Whoa, Mama Gemma. Let's talk about this one. Okay, so he comes in, he sits down, and then he offers that bizarre smile. Now, I have a few thoughts, a few theories on this. And again, I ain't no body language expert, y'all. Okay, there's channels that are completely dedicated to that. And I'm very curious to see what they have to say about this kind of stuff here. So that little smile that he's doing, and here's my thing. Like, you know how, like, to me, that's like what you call like a cordial smile. So like, for example, if I'm passing someone in the hallway or whatever, and it's like, hey, how's it going? You know, now I'm from the South, so mine turns more to like, hey, how's it going? You want to have a 5-minute conversation. But regardless, what Bryan does with this is so weird to me because it seems so forced, so unnatural, almost like he's angry about having to do it when you see him. Like he did it with a cop and now with her, and it seems even more, you know, forced. Now granted, dude's just getting into court. This is new. So regardless of what he's allegedly done and all this type of stuff, he should be nervous or whatever. You know, so I get there's emotions going on, but it just seems so super forced. Now what I want to do is look at a couple of clips of that smile, comparing it to the one in the car. So let's watch those real quick. Okay, so you see how both of them, it's just like this, you know, but the one with the woman, I guess you get a clear shot of his face. Again, to me, it seems like mimicking. It seems almost like this is what a person would do, so I'm going to do it, but I don't know really how to do it, if that makes sense. It's very unsettling to me. It's like a mask breaks, and I think that the mask is the smile, right? I don't think that's his normal disposition. And we've heard from other people and evidence and all this kind of stuff that he really wasn't that nice of a guy, right? That he had this stuff going on. I mean, clearly, I mean, if it turns out that you know, allegedly, he did what he did. I mean, clearly he's not a nice guy, right? So when he's doing this little smile when he gets in the courtroom, you know, it's so weird. And again, I'm just going to say it again. It's very Ted Bundy. Okay? Very Ted Bundy. Now, let's look at a couple more clips in the courtroom because I want to talk about some more of his behavior.
Mr. Koberger, I am going to advise you of the rights that you have in this case. I am going to go over the criminal complaint with you, and then we're going to discuss setting the matter for further hearing.
Okay, so we hear the judge. She's laying out what's going to happen. He's doing the head shake. Again, very, you know, I'm staring at the judge. That's what I'm doing. Now, what else would he be doing, right? I mean, he shouldn't be like looking around and being disrespectful, so I'll give him that. But there's something else there. Okay, I don't know what it is, but there's just something else there. But when we compare some of this behavior to the secondary court appearance, the vibe is different, right? There's almost like, I don't know if the word's curiosity, because I think there's a level to that. I almost feel like he kerplunked himself into a situation like this, and unfortunately it ended up like being this house, these people, these kids, but it was going to be someone at some point, and possibly multiple people if he got away with it, right? Like this curiosity, this I want to be noticed, I want attention, and it's like he's almost like this, and I'm in that realm now and still interested in it. If that makes sense. Let's keep rolling the tape.
You have a right to have that hearing within 14 days if you remain in custody. If you are bound over at that preliminary hearing to district court, if the court finds probable cause, you would be bound over to district court.
Okay, now the reason I put this one up is because of that thing that he has going on his cheek. I don't know, I've tried to mimic it. I can't tell if it's doing something. I'm clenching my teeth. I'm trying to figure out what he's doing, or if it's like an involuntary thing. You know how sometimes you'll be sitting there and your eye will be like, it feels like it's doing that, and it's like twitching or something, but you're not really doing it. It's almost like that's what he's doing there. So I just find it interesting. You see this throughout, right? So I'm like, is he doing something with his teeth? Is it just an involuntary thing? And if it is involuntary, like what is it? Is that just a nervous thing? Again, I would expect that, right? Let's keep reviewing.
Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
I am now going to go over the criminal complaint with you.
Again, there's just something that I'm getting here. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like this. Yes, the criminal complaint. Okay, cool. Like, what is this type thing? And maybe he hasn't seen this stuff yet. Maybe he hasn't heard this stuff yet. And of course, it's a case against him, so he's very interested. Now, again, we know now, and I'll probably do a separate video on this when I can sit here and review it, what his attorney said. You know, Bryan Enton did that interview with the attorney, and the attorneys have spoken out and stuff like that. So maybe there is this general interest in it, right? But there's something there with this. It just seems like so odd. Again, I'll say this too, that movie Murder by Numbers, I watched it again. So if you follow me, you know, I was like in one of my videos about him, I was like, it's giving that movie, right? And so I rented it and watched it again, and there's still this level that I just feel like this seems so much like that, right? His interest in it.
It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Koberger, on or about November 13th of 2022 in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonsalves.
Now again, this one you see his eyes are kind of going around and all that. She's describing this charge or whatever. Again, there's just this sense of relaxation of just, okay, we're reading a book. You know, it could be anything, right? I again have no idea how I would react in this situation. I would like to think that I would be petrified, but again, I mean, from what he allegedly has done, that probably isn't going to faze him quite yet. So let's watch the next clip.
If you plead guilty or are found guilty, is death and or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 4 alleges that you committed the felony offense of...
Now again, when she says that, notice that cheek thing starts happening again. And so that's where I'm just like, okay. But again, his yes, just very chill about the whole thing. Very almost confident. Maybe that's the word that I'm looking for. Because again, I'll say this again. He, you know, is claiming I'll be exonerated, I'll be this, I'll be that. So maybe in his mind, he's like, this ain't gonna hold. Like, I've got, you know, this, that, and the other. Now, we already know, you know, and again, I ain't no lawyer, but just like looking at some of the evidence that they've let out, I'm like, yeah. But some lawyers are saying, there's a lot of holes in this, there's that. And so we'll just have to see how it plays out in court. But for now, let's watch the next clip. And that next clip is going to be his next court appearance. Now, one thing I want to do, first of all, we're going to talk about the cut on his face. This is, of course, a huge thing that has gone around. So let's just let camera roll and then we'll talk about it.
All right.
Okay, so on this one, a couple of things. First of all, he walks around the corner, sits down, doesn't look at his attorney, doesn't say anything to her, doesn't acknowledge her. Now, at the very end of this, and I'll comment on it there too, when they take him out, you can see she goes back there and is talking to him. So I'm like, I don't know if she was back there talking to him first, and so there was no need to acknowledge her or anything. But even regardless, I just think it's weird that he comes out and sits down and doesn't, like, there's nothing there. Like, he is focused, right? Almost like, okay, I'm like, what's going on in front of me? What's getting ready to happen? That's what I'm focused on. I'm not even doing my little fake smile thing to her. Now, the other thing is that cut. So much came out about this. Oh, he got beat up. Oh, he got that. And then the deputies were like, oh, it was self-inflicted. Oh, it was not even a reportable thing. It's shaving, whatever. I 100% think he did the shaving, right? This is just what I think happened. That looks like he used some whatever razor, and that's what it was. So that's my opinion on it. I believe what the deputies say. I think they are watching him like a hawk. Okay? I mean, like a hawk, okay? I don't think they're going to probably give him the chance to get beaten up at this point. That kind of a thing. That will probably come later. So let's watch the next clip. And in these clips, what I want to do is just compare the entrances again, just to kind of look at that real quick. So let's roll the tape. Okay, so you see the first time again, he's coming in, he rounds that corner, he's coming to sit down, he looks at her, sits down, pulls up, and then, looks at, smiles, does that fake thing, whatever, looks slightly distressed, but not really, and then right at the judge. Now, the second time he sits down, hasn't looked at her, hasn't acknowledged her, nothing, just sits down, staring right ahead, kind of getting comfy, again, just looking right ahead, but there's something different about his energy here. So, like I said, he's sitting down. There's something off about it. Now, let's look at a close-up clip just to go over again with the what do you call it? The stuff on his face, the wounds or whatever. So let's roll that and talk about it. So you see here, he has that, the little thing here on his cheek, the little thing here, and where that second one is. This is why I 100% think that this is just a razor thing. Is where, I mean, that's a place that guys are going to cut their stuff, their faces shaving. That's like a normal thing. And then the thing right under here, I mean, it just kind of depends. But also notice with this, that fixation in his eyes, that look. He is staring dead ahead, like nothing is getting in his line of view. Okay, so let's watch this next clip, and it's just going to be about the nuts and bolts of this hearing so that we can talk about that.
In the matter for the preliminary hearing status conference, so I am going to inquire of counsel. Ms. Taylor, what's the status at this time?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are going to ask the court to set preliminary hearing out into June. We would request the 3rd or 4th week of June and probably 4 or 5 days for preliminary hearing. Mr. Koberger understands his right to a timely preliminary hearing and is willing to waive the timeliness to allow us time to obtain discovery in this case and be prepared.
So again, here you have it. We're going to be out to June. He's waiving that speedy trial thing. Basically, again, the nuts and bolts. We see this often in these cases. There's really nothing to look at here. Honestly, the only thing about this is I was 100% like, oh, we're going to have another one who represents himself. And we'll see. This is brand new, right? Depending on which way he goes with this, he could turn into the type that's like, I ain't got nothing to lose. This is my time to shine. I'm going to represent myself. But I don't think he'll end up doing that. I think he'll stick with a lawyer of some sort.
The preliminary hearing, it does not mean that you're giving up your right to have a preliminary hearing. It simply means that you would not be able to come back and challenge that the state did not present probable cause within 14 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
Now again, this clip I just wanted to show again his body movements. Very, I am staring at the judge. That is who I'm talking to. There's nothing else around me. Kind of a thing. He's fidgeting a little bit, doing the mouth thing. you know, all that, and he's just answering the questions yes or no. Now, again, I want to expect him to be looking around or doing this or talking more or whatever, but he's just very yes, no. I'm very curious to know, once we can see like interrogation tape, stuff like that, like how that went, right? Because I really do think that that's probably about how it went. I would be surprised if he was the type that talked a whole bunch.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, now that's the clip that I was talking about earlier, where the hearing's over, he leaves, and the attorney walks out. So that's where I was like, well, maybe they had talked beforehand, and then she came out, so that's why he didn't feel a need to say anything. But even then, so like, I just felt like the nicety was gone in that second one. It was like, we're down to business. You know, he's had a little bit of time to sit in his cell and think about this, get what the rest of my life is going to potentially look like. And again, for somebody who pulls something like this, you know, I don't know if they ever think that that's what will come of it, but I would personally think, if I was like, I'm going to go out and do something like this, I would have to walk through in my mind that this could potentially be the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And so that part just kind of blows my mind. So again, I think his body language is extremely interesting, and I think it shows these two different sides of him. I think it shows, well, several sides to him, but the main things that I'm seeing is this general interest, like this fixation, this fascination, like this kind of a thing. And again, I just referred to that movie Murder by Numbers. I just feel like it's very similar to that. Like, he's very interested in this process and to be part of the process. And I also think that he probably in some way is enjoying this attention, right? Because I think he was an invisible type person when he was growing up. And I'm going to do a video talking about all the stuff that's coming out from various people, and I'll talk more about that in that video. But for now, if you want to hear more about what I have to say about Bryan, click the next video that is popping up now.